So, Splatoon's got some pretty deep lore, and if for some reason you don't know anything about Splatoon lore, then click this video in the iCard and you can get a pretty good rundown of the Splatoon lore timeline to learn about how the world went from squids to kids. But if you already know about all that stuff, then we can get right into the big kid questions. What Splatoon lore questions should be answered in Splatoon 3? Today I've made a quick little list of the Splatoon lore questions that I personally want to have answered in Splatoon, and here they are. Number 1. Let us meet Tony Kensa. Tony Kensa is a character with a lot of lore to him. He runs one of the most influential clothing brands in Inkopolis, he's Marie's cousin, and he's done interviews in Splatoon's art books. It's time we get to meet him in-game. Like, come on, he's already got connections to the Squidbeak Splatoon. It would be relatively easy to just slide him into the story somewhere. I'd love to see what Nintendo could do with someone as creative as Tony Kensa. Number 2. Lore dump on Mr. Grizz. I say lore dump because he is one of the most important characters in Splatoon, but we still don't know a damn thing about him. And with Little Buddy being so important to the story that he's been blessed with more haircuts than male and female Octolings combined in Splatoon 2, then Mr. Grizz has gotta be following somewhere behind him. And when we see him, I want Nintendo to answer every question we have about him. Number 3. How does sanitization work? Sanitization was a concept introduced in Octo Expansion that doesn't really get any more explanation, besides it being ground up remains of dead sea creatures, and in some cases can be undone. For a concept as scary as mind control, it doesn't really get a lot of explanation as to how it works. What laws does sanitization have to follow? When is it too late to unsanitize someone? How can someone sanitized still possess some of their former memories like dead fish? There's so many questions that comes from sanitization, and it's definitely something worth exploring more in Splatoon 3. Number 4. What's going on with the Octarians? So, now that most of the Octolings integrated into Inkling society, what's happened with the Octarians? Is it just Octavio and the Octo Troopers just sitting around in Octo Valley waiting for their power supply to eventually run dry? I'm not saying I want the campaign to be based around Octavio, but I'd like to see some mention of what happened to the remains of the Octarian forces in Splatoon 3. Number 5, and this one is definitely a question on everyone's mind. Why is the Eiffel Tower upside down? There's a lot of speculation as to why the Eiffel Tower is upside down. Theories range from it being Inkopolis Plaza Tower, to the waves of the Great Flood flipping over the tower, to the tower not even being the Eiffel Tower. Well, one, for sure, this is not the Inkopolis Plaza Tower, because you can still see it intact in Splatoon 2, plus the Splatlands are pretty far away from Inkopolis. For the wave theory, it's pretty easy to disprove as well. Though the flood had enough water to supply to tip the tower over, this doesn't explain how the tower got fully upside down and dug into a ravine/valley in the angle that it is. Of course, yours truly has made a theory on this concept that's even more outrageous than the rest, and here's a little iCard so you can go check that theory out. Number 6. Why are we seeing the return of banned specials? This definitely has something to do between differences in government between Inkopolis and Splatsville. However, we can see that ink-based battles are still held through Squid Force based on their logo present in the Splatsville Battle Tower. So why would Squid Force allow banned weapons in one location but not another? To go along with this, because it really doesn't need its own entry, why do some weapons like the Range Blaster look different in Splatsville than they do in Inkopolis, even though they function the same way? Maybe it's a new model, but based on what we know about Splatsville and how it's more of a rundown but now just starting to develop area, how would they have access to new models so quickly? I don't know, I just need more of an explanation. Number 7. Cuttlefish Family lore. This one is kind of an umbrella entry because the Cuttlefish bloodline kinda has their foot in everything. This can range from things like, is the new Squidbeak Splatoon an actually military agency? Do they exist in Splatsville? Who are Callie and Marie's parents? Why are there cuttlefish symbols all over places that there shouldn't be, like Octo Canyon? Why did the Squid Sisters mention that when Captain Cuttlefish was younger, vegetables didn't exist? You see what I mean? There's so much lore in the Cuttlefish family, and we just need to get some insight of at least some of it. Number 8. What happened to characters like Sea Cucumber and Isopadre after Octo Expansion? So, are these two characters just stuck on the train forever? We hear Captain Cuttlefish mention that Sea Cucumber was special in its ability to talk, so why would something as important as Sea Cucumber spend the rest of its life in a dissolved company's train station? And Isopadre, maybe he could play a new sort of mentor role again in the train we saw in the Splatoon 3 trailer. Maybe he shows up on that train to just give advice to the new protagonist. I don't know, I just want to see these two characters more. Number 9. The Splatlands location and just an overall map of Earth. So Earth's gone through some pretty big changes over the last 10,000 years from the Splatoon world, and we know that Splatsville is very far away from Inkopolis, and we know Inkopolis is based in the remains of Japan. But where are the Splatlands? And better yet, what does Earth look like now? Are there countries that are just totally underwater? Maybe some countries were just turned into craters in the 3 other world wars before the flood. I've always liked to see how worlds that take shape after catastrophic events and other forms of media like Steven Universe and Far Cry look after they've gone through their events, so seeing something like this in an updated Earth map would really scratch my lore itch for Splatoon. Number 10, and this will probably end up being its own video soon, Inkling Space Colony. So ever since we saw the moon in Splatoween Splatfest and noticed the Inkling shape on the moon, we've known that Inklings have been to space. To the extent of their presence in space is currently unknown, but in my next Splatoon theory, I'm going to try to crack this whole Inklings on the moon theory wide open. But anyways gamers, that is it from me. But wait, did you know that only 13.8% of you people who watch my videos are subscribed? But today, I'm going to let you in on something. If you subscribe today, right now, there's a slight chance you'll get a puppy today. Alright, that is it from me guys, I will see you later.